After you've met with your contact and talked through all of the expectations for the day and how the flow of the day will go for the reset, you will be bringing all of your tools out to the floor area. As you can see, gold standard for tools, if the store has them available for you, would be to use a flatbed trolley as well as a couple of totes to be able to keep your product organized and easier for you to utilize for the reset. A few other tools that you definitely will need is obviously the planogram as well as the shelf labels, and potentially the store might provide some tape to you, as well as you might need a box cutter. One of the key things with all of these tools is to ensure that we're keeping our workspace neat, tidy, and giving the customers the ability to be able to walk down the aisle. So one of the important things is definitely make sure that all your tools are on the same side as the section that you're working on. So here we have our deodorant section and our materials are on the same side of the aisle. This way it allows for the customer to be able to easily walk down the aisle behind you without fear of running into any of our materials or product and causing an accident. When you start, you will want to review your planogram. The first page gives you an overall guide of what the section will look like, including product descriptions as well as approximate product size of the items that will be going onto the shelves. You will need to look into the details and look shelf by shelf. When you look at the planogram, you will see that it provides you the shelf number as well as the notch that that shelf is supposed to go into the frame. So this shelf, which is actually the bottom shelf in this case, goes on notch 0, which means it is on top of the base. The next shelf would be placed at notch 6, notch 12, and so on. It is important to note, however, that the notches are a fantastic guideline and we should absolutely strive to ensure that the shelves are placed at these notches, but you do need to do a double check at the end to make sure that the tallest product that is on that shelf is able to be removed and put back into the shelf easily and does not get stuck. When you are looking at the planogram, you will look for the numbers. So each item has a corresponding number on the other side of the page. For this example, we're looking at item number 36, and if we look across to the other side of the page, item 36 is right here, and it is Degree Men Antiperspirant Everest, and if we follow along, it tells us the size of the product, which is 76 grams, and that there is one facing allotted to this SKU. Another important thing is to ensure that you count the number of facings that your shelf will require. So as we count along here, we see that we will have 17 facings on this shelf. Our next step would then be to go to that shelf and to count along to make sure that we have enough facings for that shelf, to see if we need to remove any of the dividers or pushers, and or to see if we need to add any dividers or pushers to that shelf. Now we're going to start removing product from the shelf. As you can see, we have put one of our tote bins on the floor so that we can start to place the product into the bin and help keep it a little bit more organized and prevent product from falling over. A great best practice is to actually take the sticker tags from the shelf and place it on the front SKU that you are removing. This will help you as you go along to verify easily against your planogram what SKU the product is. Next step is when you're starting to put the product back on the shelf, you need to ensure that you have proper spacing of your dividers. So you will need to adjust the dividers for space by sliding them over both at the front and the back to ensure that it is straight. A great test to make sure that the divider is straight at the back as well is to actually then push your facing all the way back and make sure that there's no buckling or that there's not too much space at the back. The next step to ensure that your product will sit properly is to adjust the pusher and ensure that the pusher is in the middle of the two dividers. This way your product will stand as close to straight up as possible. As you've already discussed with your store contact upon arrival, at least the top shelves will need to move in all planogram resets, and you will be confirming via the notches to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. As you can see here, the reason for the shelf movement is because currently the dry spray innovation from Unilever will not fit onto the shelf, and if you did get it onto the shelf, the customer would not be able to remove it. After you have adjusted the shelf, please make sure to take one of the Dove Women dry sprays, as that is the tallest of all of the new innovation SKUs, and make sure that you can easily put it into the shelf as well as to easily remove it from the shelf. If your stores ask you to put some Scotch tape over top of the labels, then all you need to do is put the Scotch tape across the entire row of labels, cut it off using your X-Acto knife, and then you will simply score along the perforations of the labels to score through the tape so that you can easily remove the labels. There's no need to cut all the way, and please do not use scissors, as this will cause your labels to be out of order. When you're placing the labels on the shelf, ensure that you start at the left side of the product, push the bottom of the label into the bottom lip of the shelf, and push up. Again, go to the left, put the label in the bottom lip, and smooth it up. This way we ensure that the labels are straight all the way across the shelf, and again ensure that they are all to the left of the product. As a final check before you go find your store contact to review your work, please ensure that you do a final review to ensure that all SKUs have been placed in the correct positioning with the correct number of facings. You can easily do this by checking your planogram, reading across for the product name, how many facings, and then verifying against what you have on the shelf to ensure that yes, in fact, I do have the Axe body spray piece and I have one facing for it. Do this for all facings across the entire shelf and section.